Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 10. I think that's what we're on, right? Rest Pass, confirm for me. We're on episode 10?
I would like to say maybe.
Yes, we're going to go with 10 of April Work Podcast with Joe Boys. Rest Pass, Peach, and Walt. Yeah, I get that same look on Rest Pass's face every week when I do Joe Boys. Let's check in on everyone. Rest Pass, how you doing today? Internet going great?
It is fantastic right now. Hopefully I don't drop out. And it is episode 10, by the way. So, I'm feeling like a perfect 10 right now.
Thank you, Ty.
10.
Peach, how you feeling today?
I'm feeling pretty good.
That's good. That's good to hear. Well,
the beautiful Mother's Day.
Yes, it is Mother's Day. Happy, Mother's Day to all the mothers that are listening to us currently. We hope you had a lovely day. Pro wrestling filled day, we'll say at that. But, so Rest Pass, I do have to say, you and I probably lied a little bit. So before we get into the topic, just because we're not doing that great, because we did not secure our tickets to the All In event in Chicago, Illinois, September 1st.
Yes, I lied. I used perfect 10 because it's episode 10.
Yes.
Peachy don't care because he was being his normal filthy casual self and was not going anyway. But that was disappointing.
You were going to have 2/3 of Vapor Work and 1/3 of OP0909 and friends out there. So
that might have been our first special guest, Yeah. It was going to be historic. We were going to record in Chicago and
well, let's say this: we still might
killed our dreams.
We still might. Well, that sounds like that sounds like the story of my life. 3 minutes later, and it's dreams are killed and people are crying. But no, what was I going to just say there? We still might go. We're going to keep an eye out for tickets because I would still like to go.
Yeah, hopefully, if you're listening out there and you have extra tickets, don't triple charge us, just double charge us, and we'll pay.
We'll set up a PO box. Let us know. The one match already announced.
Kickstarter.
The one match already announced for it is Cody for the NWA Championship, which right now is currently Nick Aldis. Not looking forward to that match, but I think the storyline behind it, Cody going for his dad's championship, would be a pretty cool one to see. But we'll see if we see it out there. But to kind of tie into that, one of the things we were going to do out there, I was going to go get an autographed photo op signing of CM Punk because he was going to be at Pro Wrestling Tees store. But
and you absolutely were, because you know what? You were so successful getting one of the 11,500 tickets that you were going to get in that 200 people. You were right there.
Yes.
That quick trigger got you.
Yeah. But CM Punk is kind of the top of our conversation this week, and we're kind of talking about various records. The main reason Punk's up because Brock Lesnar, your current reigning and defending Universal Champion, is currently at 405 days holding the Universal title. That's of this recording on Mother's Day. It's May 13th. He does not have a match scheduled for Money in the Bank yet. And I believe, I don't even know if there's what's after Money in the Bank, if it's SummerSlam or if there's another filler pay-per-view. But most likely, Lesnar is going to be passing Punk's modern-day title reign of 434 days, which he held from, I think, a Survivor Series 2011 till Mania, to Rumble 2013. He beat Del Rio for it and lost it to The Rock. Lesnar won his title from Goldberg and still has not lost it. So that was kind of our kickoff point for a topic. So we're going to talk about a couple other records, but I guess the main idea we had here is, one, do we think Lesnar's going to pass it, Punk's record? Two, do we think Lesnar is a good person to have pass it, and what our thoughts are? And then the third one is, who do we think is going to pass that one again? If they're going to hold that one true. Rest Pass, you want to start?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say he's going to beat it. I know.
You're a brave man. You're a brave man.
I'm about to toss the same bet offer that Peachy did for a Ronda Rousey match. I'm as confident as Peachy was picking Ronda Rousey.
To lose, by the way, Ronda Rousey to lose.
Yes. Yeah, obviously Lesnar's going to win it. It's a shame that he's going to win it. You understand it. You know they don't want Punk's name in there. It's kind of like why they had Lesnar beat the Undertaker. It's that whole dominant holding the title thing. That, unfortunately, the biggest reason this is coming up too, you see all those memes and everything where it shows Lesnar defended it 15 times, I think, in that time.
So I have the stats up actually that I was going to pull up. CM Punk during his 434-day reign. This is between live shows, Raw, SmackDown, and pay-per-views. He had 141 title defenses against, I believe it is 10 people. Del Rio, Ziggler, Cena, Miz, Jericho, Kofi, R-Truth, Kane, Mark Henry, Daniel Bryan, Big Show, Sheamus, Ryback, as well as The Rock. He successfully did not beat The Rock, but or unsuccessfully. Lesnar has had 10 title defenses in the current time frame. Most likely will have 11, and he has defended it against Samoa Joe, Braun Strowman, Kane, and Roman Reigns. So, some great comparisons there.
Yeah, I know one of the biggest things, I guess the Lesnar defenders and the CM Punk haters are bringing up is when you look at all the older guys' reigns, they didn't really defend the title that often either. You had guys like Hogan who almost didn't even, he was almost like the same as Lesnar right now, where he didn't really compete unless it was a pay-per-view. The biggest difference, and I know a lot of people have touched on this, wrestling's different now than it was then.
Yeah. So just to quickly give also some stats to why Punk's reign is kind of so important. Punk's at 434 days. The next person is Pedro Morales at 1,027 days. Nobody is touching 1,000 days. Nobody's holding the title for 3 years. So really, Punk's record is the only achievable one, I think, in the current system, the way it's set up.
Now, do you think they set out for him to break this record way back when? Do you think the WWE set out to, all right, we need to get Punk's names off the books. How do we do it? We're going to, give Brock this long run.
I don't think so. I think it just happened by accident.
Yeah, it's kind of like the whole Taker thing. It kind of fell into their laps, and they're running with it now. Yeah. But that was the biggest thing. Like I said, the old school days, they didn't wrestle very often. A lot of these guys probably defended their titles, quote unquote, but not in official fashion because it was, it was in show. It was more or less house shows. Some of those guys might have went to different territories where they couldn't technically defend it. But they wrestle so much more nowadays. That was the most impressive thing. They wrestle so much more, and he wasn't an attraction like Lesnar is now. It's easy for Lesnar to hold on the title when he only defends the title, a handful of times out of the year. Yeah,
I didn't pull it up, and I don't even know how many times he's wrestled. Probably 10 times. Probably every match he's been in has been for the title.
Yeah, and that's the insane thing about it. That was the most impressive thing about what Punk did, and the hilarious thing about it is it's that modern day record, and even Lesnar passing it, it's still not going to make what Punk did any less impressive.
Nah, it just sucks that the Punk's not going to be in that record book for that, or now it's going to just be compared to Lesnar. The funny thing is, and what's ironic about it too, is they did the same thing with AJ Lee. They took the longest reigning women's championship away from her and gave it to Nikki or Brie. I forget whichever one was holding it.
Wait, I thought what's her name had the longest female.
Yeah, but you want her off the record books in general.
30 years of
yeah. But yeah, Peach, what are your thoughts? Do you think one, Lesnar should break it, and two, obvious? Well, do you think Lesnar's going to break it?
Yes.
Okay, great.
I just think CM Punk left such a bad taste in WWE's mouth that they're going to do whatever they want to get rid of him. I kind of think that it has a chance to backfire on them, where, you know, once he breaks it, they're going to get all the Punk chants again. They're going to get, and, you know, it'll be a splash in the pan. It won't last forever, but you'll definitely catch, you know, the crowd's reaction from him breaking it.
Yeah. And then, yeah, I'm in the same, but like, it sucks. Punk's one of my favorite. That was a good reign. Like, the thing that sucked about that reign, too, is it played second fiddle to John Cena the entire time.
Oh my god, it was awful. It was awful.
It was, but it also, like, it basically became the IC title to where it was the Workhorse's title. I think there might have been one pay-per-view that he didn't wrestle because he got hurt on, but he was still at all the shows. But yeah, so it sucks. Lesnar's going to hold it. I think he's holding the belt to SummerSlam, if not longer, because I don't see anybody that's beating him. The only person I possibly see beating him is Braun Strowman, and I don't even know if they're going to do that. But I also thought Roman Reigns was going to beat him, and we saw how that turned out. Just to kind of try this one up maybe a little bit, who do you think is someone that could possibly beat whatever Lesnar's reign is going to be? So we'll kind of cap it at, I think, at SummerSlam, might put him at like the 450-day mark around. So are there any wrestlers, current, possibly future, coming up between NXT, even in the Indies, stuff like that, that could possibly touch this title reign that we have again?
Yes.
And who do you think?
I could see Strowman. I could. Do I think they're going to? No. But I think he's probably the only realistic option that they have right now. I could see a guy like Aleister Black, depending on what they want to do with him when he comes up. But in all honesty, Strowman's probably the most likely guy. I don't see anybody doing it. I think he's the only one that might come close. He might be the only one that comes close to a year reign, to be honest with you. I don't know how long Styles hasn't had for that long, right?
He's currently at, I believe, like 180 something days. He is that his first reign was 100. His current reign is 185 days.
And his reign will probably end for whoever wins the Money in the Bank. So he might get to 250 by the time that's all said and done. I think Strowman. I could see Strowman winning it at WrestleMania and then losing it at the next WrestleMania kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know that there's really anybody else that they have right now.
What do you got, Peach?
I would like to see it be like more of a young guy, like more of a cruiserweight style wrestler on the mic. But I don't think they have anyone right now. Maybe somebody NXT or, you know, Johnny Wrestling, something like that. Like somebody young, and then they can make them last, you know, for 2 years.
You're never going to get a cruiserweight guy. The closest you got was Punk and possibly Styles, but they're not even quote-unquote cruiserweights.
And Styles has fallen in the same place that Punk was, and it was like, he has the title, but they don't really care because it's not important enough to be the main event. Like you said, Cena was main eventing, so they didn't care. Punk could start off the night defending that title. They didn't care. It didn't mean enough, and I think that fell into their laps a little bit too. I think they almost gave him that run to appease him because he was pissed off at that time. And they were like, all right, fine, you want to be the guy? We'll let you be the guy. And then basically slapped him in the face by saying, you're the guy? The title's on you, but you're still not the guy we're promoting. We still know Cena as the guy, and we'll have him wrestle whoever in the main event, and you can sit in the middle of the card or start the card off, and that's fine. And that's where AJ's falling right now, and that's where guys like Gargano do the same thing. It's too easy for those guys to lose, so I think you're almost never going to see them hold on to the title for too long.
Gargano's never going to hold it that long, I think, just because he's such a natural babyface. He can't. Punk's character morphed the time as he was going through his title run. So he started off as the white hot babyface, and then he slowly became a heel at the end of his run, which he had to. Gargano, that's not going to happen with him. And then there's nobody else. The closest one I could see is possibly Roman Reigns, but it's too late for that. Like, it's too late for that title reign to mean as much it somewhat could have been if they gave it to him last year or even this year.
Well, like, one guy I'm hoping for, and it goes a little bit on to what PG said, but Cien Almas, if they work him the right way with Selena, with him kind of, cheating his way into it. Again, it falls in that same thing where it's not a baby face, it's a heel. If they use him the right way, and unfortunately, he'll probably be like an AJ Styles. He won't be leading that main title. You'll have Roman Reigns and Strowman and stuff leading Raw, and then just out of nowhere, you're like, oh crap, Cien Almas has had the title for 300 days. I could see him falling in that type of thing where he just has nice feuds with guys. He cheats his way to win. He wins clean. On to the next guy. Cheats his way to win, wins, and then just before you know it, he's just had the title for that long.
There's my that's my Money in the Bank prediction. I think he's not announced. He's not in the match yet. His debut match is, I think, this week. But I think he's going to win Money in the Bank. And I even think he might go, since I'm assuming they haven't laid out the rules yet, but he can cash in on any title. I think that's how they might get the title off Lesnar. But we'll see. That's for another conversation. But to kind of move on to the next record, kind of we were discussing this weekend, which would be interesting to see who would touch, is championship runs, or reigns even. There's no more greater than Ric Flair's 16-time world championship run, or reigns. God, why do you... Talking about Punk's run is making me say run now all the time. But, yeah, the impressive stat that's always heard is Ric Flair's the 16-time world champion. One of the greatest champions of all time. If it's cool with you guys, I'm going to start this off real fast, because...
No, it's not fine with me.
All right, well, your internet's about to go out again, probably. I don't know where his 16 title reigns come from. So, I did some research into this because I was fascinated. I'd never really truly looked into it. I assumed it was a bunch from his NWA days and his WCW days, because he was never really champion in WWE. He was a two-time champion. One of them is when he won the Rumble match. Just between the NWA and WCW, he had 17 title runs, and then you include the 2 for WWE, which is 19. WCW then created basically like their own version of the Universal title, which is a second one, and he won that twice. So we're up to 21. I don't know where 16 comes from. So that's what confused the hell out of me when I was doing research into this. But we'll leave it what WWE says. We'll say 16. Obviously, John Cena has tied that record with just WWE runs. I believe he's 13 WWE championships and 3 World Heavyweight Championships. Do you guys think he's going to pass that? Do you think he's going to claim number 17 in the WWE before he ultimately retires?
Yes. I don't think it's much of a question that they're going to have him pass it. He's become more of a part-timer, but he's still, one of the cleanest whistles for WWE. Like, he goes out, he gets his boos, he gets his cheers, he's still in good standing with WWE. So, they'll bring him in every so often, and they'll give him that storyline. They'll give him the shot. Let him hold a belt for 6 months, and then he goes and shoots a movie.
Fair enough. Respaz, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Cena breaks it. I don't see. It's kind of like what you said, Walt. And it's the funny thing is I'm pretty sure Ric Flair at different times has said he's had 23 title reigns, and the numbers so weird because apparently the one thing I was looking up, he's defended the title, but it's been on what they consider NWA sanctioned matches and stuff like that. Like, it's kind of like Lawler has like 40 world titles if you count every territory.
Flair comes from the territory days to where the titles moved around.
You basically have to use what WWE tells you, and they're telling you that they both have 16. I think he passes it. I think it's a way to kind of say, like, hey, you were the guy for so long. You led us through this. I mean, now they have wrestlers there and everything. They have guys that can take over, even though some of them might be the same age as them. But for so long, he was the guy, regardless of how the crowd reacted. I think it's a nice way to kind of be a tribute to him. But I guess branching off that a little bit, and I don't know if you even asked it. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention to you. Did you just say is all you asked was if Cena would pass, right?
That's all I asked, but I'm guessing you're getting at who do we think might come close to...
I was going to say, now, I'll start with my own, but I will ask the question. Is there anybody currently that you think will eventually pass that? Do you think there's somebody over the years? I will go with my guess and say Seth Rollins. Age-wise, he's young enough. He's not older, as old as some of those other guys that came in.
Yeah, I think he's only in his maybe early 30s. I don't know for sure. You keep talking, Mike.
I'm pretty sure he's 31, I think I seen.
Yeah.
So, Cena's 40 now, I think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got a 9-year span, which obviously if Lesnar decides to stay for the next 9 years, maybe he doesn't do it. But I could see him eventually doing it. And the funny thing is, I think he's only at 2 reigns, I think.
Yes. See, this is where I get a little confused. He's got a ways
to go.
Brock's at 4.
Yeah, that's where I get... Well, what's the one thing I don't know, like, which counts? Like, Cena, I have on my list, which is, Wikipedia. He has 13 WWE title reigns, but I know he had the 3 world. Rollins, I don't think, did anything with the world title. He, quote-unquote, won the world title, I think, when it was a combination. I forget exactly. No, I'm sorry. I'm completely off. Ignore me. Ignore the last 5 seconds.
I'm pretty sure he's only won any world title 2 times, unless they ever start considering NXT as an actual legit world championship. Right now he's at 2. I could see him being a guy going back and forth. He's one of those guys that can be a heel or a face, which I feel like a lot of times you need with a guy that jumps around the title.
Yes.
He has the history with Reigns. He puts on really good matches. They've already kind of showed a little bit of faith in him. I think it's going to be rough. You might kind of get the same thing where Orton looked like he was eventually going to pass it, and then they just realized, hey, we don't need to put this guy in the title picture anymore. But if there's somebody currently right now that I feel like might eventually get there, it's probably Seth.
Pete, you have any guys?
To pass, I think it's going to be Roman. I think they're just going to keep shoving Roman down our throats.
You think Roman's going to get over 16 title reigns?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm kind of looking to see...
Because he's another young guy that... And, how many has he had already?
3. And he is 32. So it's possible. See, I think a lot of this changes into where I'm getting confused is because, like, you don't have the Universal title, one of the main ones, on a show monthly to defend. So you don't have guys able to really jump in and out. Like, honestly, Reigns could have had 2 title reigns in the time Lesnar has been the champion.
Mm-hmm.
Now
he's had 3 title reigns in 118 combined days.
Yes. I see the only person active I see Randy Orton possibly coming close to it because I believe he's at
9.
It's like 13 or 14.
9. Well,
9 WWE, but he had a lot of in the world title because he was always on SmackDown. Orton, I think, is going to come close, but I think him and Cena are going to have, like, possibly. I think Cena might beat Orton for it because their numbers are going to be so close that they're going to have a fight like that soon. And here's the thing: they can still probably put on a decent match. Coming up the card now.
Orton's at 13, by the way.
Is it 13? Okay, yeah, that's a little too far off, but they could possibly do something with that. I see him possibly getting 2 more title reigns before he leaves.
Yeah,
but again,
I remember when I was looking at it before, that was actually why he wasn't on my list of breaking it, because I feel like his jump for champion, at least I see maybe 1 more in him, like you said, 1 maybe 2, but I don't think he does it enough to pass it.
Yeah, I agree with Rollins. They kind of trust him a little bit to carry the ball, but I think he gets hurt too easily for him to stay consistent enough that he comes back and gets it. He might get like maybe 9 or 10 or something like that, but I don't see him getting close to 16. I don't see anybody on the current rosters that they have breaking 16 or 17, whatever Cena, if Cena gets to 17. None of the young guys. Braun Strowman I think of, but I'm like, nah, I don't. He's not the type to have multiple reigns. He's one to have like a one long standing reign. None of the guys in NXT that are coming up. Adam Cole is a possibility, just because I think he's in his he's in his like late 20s still, so he's young enough and he's kind of ready for the show that he could possibly do, but I still don't see him doing that. Yeah, I don't see anybody surpassing whatever Cena's reigns are at, or if they leave it at 16. Definitely nobody's passing Flair's. Unless, actually, I'd be willing to say there are guys that would pass Flair's 22 or whatever he end up world title reigns, just because of all the different promotions that are out there now. Like Austin Aries. Austin Aries has, I want to say, 5 title belts that he's carrying around right now. I think he's got like a Defiant. He was the TNA Impact champion. There's a couple other ones, I think, that he's carrying around just at a single time. So, stuff like that, I see them, guys out there passing, but a consistent within WWE reign of like 16 or something, I don't see it happening anytime soon.
Yeah, that's where there's a lot of gray area when it comes to this, because it depends on what exactly you consider an actual world title reign.
Yeah.
Like I know when I was kind of glancing at some lists, they had I think Styles up there at 8 or 10.
Yeah, because Styles
when they counted all his world titles, and honestly, he would have been the guy had I not realized he's a year younger than Cena. And it's going to be still kind of hard for
Orton's close to that too.
Yeah, Orton's old,
but Orton's at the tail end of his career too. Like he's not. They don't need him to be the guy, so why make him the guy? They have a lot of guys that can make a lot of use out of the title. Even guys like Samoa Joe, who's older, but he hasn't been a champion there. That could help put him over way more. Orton has not needed the title in a very long time. And honestly, when he gets the title, it'll be to put somebody over. Yeah, he'll get the title, like Walt said, either to let Cena
the quote unquote
transitional, to break the record.
Yeah, the quote unquote transitional champion.
Yeah, he'll win it to let Cena Almas beat him or something like that. He'll be there for somebody, and Nakamura might win that first title to beat Orton or something like that. Although it should be Styles eventually,
or to get it off of somebody like Orton. I could not it'd be dumb, but like somehow Orton beating Lesnar, but then getting the belt over to Samoa Joe, so that they didn't have to have Samoa Joe beat Lesnar straight. Or Joe can beat Orton.
Jeff Hardy wins the title and has his 12th DUI, and they need to get rid of it. So, exactly. Hey, Randy Orton's right here.
That's actually, yeah, that's good. Not for a Jeff Hardy DUI, but that's something like that, to where they just put it in for a month and then it works. So the other kind of reigns championship reigns topic I brought up was Chris Jericho, because I think this one is also on the verge of being broken as well. Chris Jericho has held the Intercontinental Championship a record reign of 9 times. Currently, The Miz is at 8 reigns. Just challenged Rollins for it again. Didn't win, which I was happy about. But I think The Miz is going to surpass Jericho's reign, and he's going to get at least 10 reigns as the Intercontinental Championship. I don't want to see it because I love Jericho, and I want him to hold on to a couple of the important reigns. The IC title has always been known as the workhorse title. Jericho's definitely was a workhorse for WWE through all the years he's been there. He's always comes back and does whatever's needed, and does it fantastically. It's not even a real word, but
it's not a real world either.
Yeah, it's not a real world, but I think Jericho deserves that. But to that respect, I think Miz also deserves it too. He's been a workhorse for the last couple years. He's never complained about a spot, really. Definitely got pushed into spots he shouldn't have been in. Example being the world title run. But definitely deserves it. But I don't want to see him break it. What are your guys' thoughts on all of that?
Peach?
I think he should break it. Like, it's there, and, you know, the Miz is also the end of his run.
No, he's not. No, he's not.
Miz is 37.
Yeah, Miz still has a while to go. He could probably go to his mid-40s, 45, on a consistent basis that he's going now. But wait, like the whole Daniel Bryan talking smack thing, to where he was ripping Miz apart because he's that quote-unquote soft WWE style. He's not wrong about that. He doesn't do anything super crazy or something that he's going to injure himself with. He does play it safe. He puts on great matches, don't get me wrong. He goes out there and performs like a madman. But like he's not doing the same shit that Seth Rollins is doing. He's not doing the stuff Daniel Bryan's going to be doing. He is going to be playing it safe, so he does have. I didn't even realize he was that old. I still think he's got a lot left in the tank. He's still got a solid 5 years of full time, I think, in him.
How much more does Jericho have?
Jericho's at the end. Jericho will not. I don't think Jericho will get another title reign. I do. This is just me being selfish, but I would like to see Miz possibly get the IC title, tie Jericho's reign, and then Jericho try to win it off him to get a 10th reign, but just not be successful.
I could technically see that happening too, or have him win it and then have Miz win it back off him. You know, almost like have that end the feud.
Yeah.
But going on to should he, if he will, he will. I mean, it's like Cena. The Miz is the intercontinental version of Cena.
Yes.
He does all the interviews. He does everything for WWE. He's a huge fan, and probably bigger than what John Cena was as far as wrestling.
No doubt about that.
And that's why I almost agree with you. I did not realize he was that old either. But if we see him wrestling at 50 in a close to full-time schedule, I would not be surprised. I think he's loving life and loving where he is right now. And if it wasn't for the fact that he had a baby with Maurice, I think he'd wrestle into his 60s or 70s, to be honest with you, because I think he loves what he's doing. Them giving him this, and it's no knock on Jericho.
That's the one nice thing about this one.
He's not he has not been fully invested in wrestling in a very long time. In a very long time. He's done a lot for the business. It's not to say that he didn't deserve it, but The Miz is full WWE, full wrestling all the time. I know he does movies, but he does WWE movies.
Yeah, I don't think he's done another non-WWE supported project, meaning it's only for the USA Network and shit like that.
Yeah, and I think he's doing it for the WWE just as much as for himself. I don't think he's sitting there thinking it's going to launch some type of movie career. I think he's doing it because the WWE trusts him, and it would be rough not to give him it. And to not give him a couple more, to be honest with you, I don't see him just passing it. I think if Cena beats Flair, he's going to just beat Flair. It's going to make a big deal. He might even retire when he beats Flair. The Miz, I see The Miz getting a couple more. There's no reason to put The Miz back in the WWE title picture. I know he's one of the rumored possibilities for Money in the Bank. As much as I'd love to see it, I don't think he needs it. I would love to see, like you said, Walt. You said there's the rumor that they could go for any WWE championship. How great for the Intercontinental title would it be if they just say for any championship?
Oh, I'm sorry. When I said that, I meant either the Universal or the.
Yeah, I know what you meant. I'm saying if they almost leave it to any singles championship. Just as to kind of throw it off a little bit. But I mean, how great for the Intercontinental title would that be if the Miz used it purposely to go get his Intercontinental reign? I mean, that leaves the whole Brock Lesnar only shows up to 12 shows out of the year, so you can't use it on him anyway. Now it's super obvious that they're probably going to go after the SmackDown champion. And now, if you say any single, you're like, anybody would be crazy. But The Miz has a legit reason to want to go after the Intercontinental title.
That's true.
So I would love it. It would do even more for the Intercontinental title than what he's done. But I don't see it happening. As much as I'd like to see it, I don't see it happening.
Is there anybody coming up or possibly on the roster that could surpass Jericho's reign? So we're going to exclude Jericho. We'll say the number of reigns is going to end at 10. That's going to be its high water mark by the time that someone's going to have to look to pass. Is there anybody up and coming? Because I do have one name that I think could possibly be the one to do it.
So we're going to exclude The Miz, is what you meant.
Yes, yeah. Exclude The Miz because I think he'll ultimately take it over. I don't think Jericho will surpass him or whatever. Whatever happens with it, whether it's the Jericho or the Miz that ends up holding it, it's going to be capped at 10. That's where the next superstar is going to be fighting against. I think Johnny Gargano. I think he might be the one that could have a lot of individual reigns because he's that babyface. So he's not going to be a heel champion. So there'll be heel tactics in him losing the title a lot. And I think he's someone that will be a workhorse and will ultimately do it. Just as a quick note before you guys mention anything, from what I'm seeing, the next closest superstar that's active is Dolph Ziggler at 5 title reigns. Triple H is also on this list at 5. RVD is at 6. Jeff Jarrett's at 6. I don't see RVD coming back to win it over 4 more times or getting even close to that. Jeff Jarrett just entered the Hall of Fame, so he's out. And Triple H, he's not touching that. So it's Dolph Ziggler at 5, and then below that is a jump between Jeff Hardy, Kofi Kingston at 4. Yeah. So those are kind of the current active guys that might be close.
Yeah, I don't see them moving Kofi not until New Day disbands, and they're still riding that high.
I don't think they'll disband. They'll never disband. But who do you got? Mike's eyebrow.
I was still waiting for Peachy to finish.
I would just like another young guy workhorse. Like, I think if they would use Finn Balor more or something like that to be like
Finn Balor's like 37. He's in that same Johnny Gargano role, but he's too old. Offhand, I don't know how old Johnny Gargano is. I'm going to look that up now. Just to see, but I think Gargano's young enough. Gargano's 30.
All right.
So a little older than what I thought, but I still think he could possibly do it. Or even Adam Cole.
They're both very selfish picks. Well,
the Adam Cole one, not so much.
I will go with a little. I don't want to say surprise pick. Elias. I'll go with Elias. Do I think he's going to do it? No. I could see him getting stuck in that mid-title. I think it's right there. I know he'll be that guy everybody wants them to push, but there's going to be too many guys at the top for him to really get pushed.
Yep.
I could see him getting some runs. He would be believable in a back-and-forth feud, so I can see him winning the title 2-3 times in a long feud with somebody. As far as what they have right now, the IC title is such a hard one to pick right now. Like you said, there's not the guys that have 3, 4, 5 reigns are older. They're probably not going to get another 4 or 5 reigns in them. And the guys we're picking have none, one. Like I was looking at Kevin Owens, but again, he needs 8 reigns to even get up there. Dean Ambrose, I don't expect to see him really there that long. Most guys, when they have those title reigns, they don't stick there that long. But Elias is a guy I don't ever see becoming really a champion. Maybe Rusev kind of falls under that same thing. No matter the crowd reaction, he's always going to be a U.S. title contender in my mind. He's not going to be a heavyweight title contender, So, and Elias is only 30. He's still got some in him, as long as he can kind of keep this gimmick going. But I see titles so hard. It's so hard to predict.
Yeah. So just as a reference to Ric Flair, well, there's a couple people. Flair, Luger, Benoit, Bret Hart, Cena, and Wahoo McDaniel, which I have no idea who that is.
Wahoo.
How do you not know who that is?
They all have 5 United States title reigns. So, just kind of just to put it as a reference, kind of, because like you said, Rusev. I could see Rusev falling into multiple title reigns with the U.S. title, not the IC title.
Yeah. His gimmick, it falls under being a U.S. champion.
Yeah. So, yeah, I like Gargano is, but like even like as we're talking and I'm thinking about it, I'm like, I don't know if anybody else is going to come close to that. Like,
you get like him mentioning Ambrose. Like Ambrose does have, like he's still Ambrose is 31 or whatever, and he could be right in that intercontinental space, and he can go with feuds and go back and forth with people.
Yeah, he can. He definitely he's up there as a possibility, just because he's an active wrestler. So he's up there as a possibility. I just don't see them pulling the trigger.
But he's won it, right?
Yeah, a couple times. Yeah,
I was about to say.
Yeah, I think he's at 2.
Yeah, maybe. All 3 members of the Shield are Grand Slam champions.
Right. Ambrose being the youngest person to win a Grand Slam.
Yes. Yeah, so I guess we'll just leave it at that for IC belt. It's because I don't know how to transition into the next topic. Or, well, the next kind of talking point. So we talked amongst ourselves and said, hey, each one of us pick a record that you just want to bring up as a discussion point. So, Mike, we'll let you start with what one you wanted to bring up.
Yeah, well, since I already ruined mine because I tried using this as what our initial 5 was going to be, mine was actually, I was a little surprised to see this, and I'm completely making this up. Mine was the greatest winning percentage for, I'll say, 150 plus matches. That takes out the one guy we were talking about earlier. Well,
El Torito.
Yes, El Torito fell on my list of wrestlers who have wrestled over 100 matches and has an 80% winning percentage. He's actually right there, almost 81%. So that tells you everything you need to know about El Torito. But if we go with 150 matches, since his matches are 135, there are actually 2 guys that have done it, 2 non-active wrestlers. Goldberg, which was at 83%. Now, he was 2 matches shy of 300, 298. But Ultimate Warrior, actually, 88.46%. Ultimate Warrior won out of his matches, 156 of them, which I found to be crazy. I mean, it makes sense. You know, I think you've very rarely seen Ultimate Warrior lose a match.
Yeah.
So it makes sense in the grand scheme of things. Actually, funny, I'm looking right now, just taking a quick glance at it. John Cena's.
That's the one I was just going to bring up.
John
that was
Cena
because that is
at 1,365 matches.
God.
John Cena has won 76%. That's insane. I actually did not notice that the first time I've seen this. There's actually somebody else who's won 75% of his matches on here that I'm upset about, and you can mention if you want one. I don't want to.
Mojo Riley?
Yes, Mojo Riley.
I figured that one.
75.56%.
Yeah.
352 matches. That right there should show you how much more these guys wrestle than they ever did. That whole conversation about Punk, Namada, and Error, and all that stuff between Bruno Sammartino and Hogan. You got a guy like Ultimate Warrior who wrestled 156 matches. Mojo Rawley's at 352.
Yeah, that's absurd.
I mean, that right there shows you.
So are we saying Mojo? No, I don't even want to make that joke. That's not fair. That's yeah. Well,
But
it's actually kind of like not trying to be like they have similar gimmicks.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that really is true. But I don't see that winning percentage going up.
For Mojo Rawley or Ultimate Warrior?
Ultimate Warrior is definitely not going up. Yeah. But who's number 1 on this list is an active wrestler, Asuka, who has wrestled 291 matches, and she's at 90%. And I was just curious, kind of get your guys' feelings. Let's say, for argument's sake, Asuka loses just enough matches to drop under Ultimate Warrior's record of 88%. Do you guys feel like there will ever be a person to actually beat that? I know they wrestle too much now; it's kind of hard. And if you do think somebody will, who will do it? I'll go to you.
I had a hard.
PG's not even there.
Yeah, I had a hard time wrapping myself around that. Like I was like winning percentages, so I was just like doing the research. I'm like, I don't know. Like I mean, I don't know. Like maybe Strowman. But even that, like, they kind of messed up because they've given them dumb losses already. But, like, so someone on this list that has 106 matches wrestled, which is Lars Sullivan, that was a name I'd throw out that he could possibly do it just because that's that's his gimmick. So, like, he's this big monster of a man that doesn't get beaten or doesn't lose very often. And I think that's going to stay with him, but it's not going to be... I don't think it's going to be as good as Asuka's. Yeah, because even Asuka, like, she doesn't have the Goldberg vibe.
No.
Just because, like, she's not a big powerhouse. She's just a damn good wrestler.
And unfortunately, right now, she has Charlotte and Ronda Rousey in her way. where she's not there, kind of the only dominant female wrestler right now.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing, but it's a bad thing if she wanted
Yeah.
to keep up her 90% winning percentage.
True.
Do you guys like that gimmick that this person's going to go out and they're going to win? You already know it. Like, I think that takes away from watching wrestling.
Well, it depends. It depends on the situation. It's not about in wrestling. It's very rarely is it about the results. It's about the story, about how you get there. And they can throw twists in there. They threw a twist in at WrestleMania. Everyone thought Asuka was going to win. Asuka was just going to walk out, beat Flair. She'd ended up losing, which really doesn't account for this, but, Asuka's going to win. You want to see how. How is she going to beat this person that looks on a very similar level? Her matches with Ember Moon in NXT. Those were great because Ember Moon was somebody, maybe they're actually going to have her lose to her. I think when Shayna Baszler gets called up to the main roster, I think that's someone that's going to have interesting matches that you're going to think, all right, Asuka's good. Shayna, whatever. You're going to think Asuka's going to win, and Asuka wins, but how did she win that match? What happened there? How was she able to counter someone like Baszler?
But, the Brock and Braun Strowman thing, they're just big guys, and they do suplexes, and they win. That's their story.
Well, you're basically saying Goldberg's whole career, and Goldberg is one of the most beloved wrestlers. I mean, see, that was where the difference between a guy like Goldberg and actually Strowman, where Strowman's cheered as opposed to Lesnar. Strowman's a full-time wrestler. Goldberg was a full-time wrestler. Goldberg, I remember going to a live show and seeing Goldberg go through the whole same things. They showed it up on the screen. He's hitting his head on the the wall. He comes out. He does his thing. He wrestled some nobody, and most of his wins came against nobody, but it didn't matter.
Yeah.
I went to a Thursday night Thunder. I went to a Thunder event at it was probably the old stadium was, not the Wells Fargo Center, the Spectrum.
Yeah.
And I seen Goldberg, and he came out and wrestled probably the same guy he had wrestled the last 12 weeks. It didn't matter. He was still getting cheered. You knew what he was coming out. You knew he was coming out and doing 3 moves. He was spearing the guy, jackhammer, and that was it. And it really didn't matter because he was always there. Lesnar's not there. I think people would not have such an issue if he just showed up.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, you know too much about he's there for the money. You know whether it's the right amount or rumored amount or whatever. You know he's making a shit ton of money just to show up, and he still doesn't show up because he doesn't have to, because he doesn't want to, if that's his gimmick, he could still get cheered.
Get the title off him. He'd definitely get cheered if the title was off him.
But that's like Strowman. If Strowman came out and dominated everybody week after week, but he came out on Raw and dominated, he showed up in live shows and dominated, he didn't even have to have a match. Just come out and beat the hell out of people. People aren't going to boo him. They're not going to boo him. They're still going to cheer him the same way they're cheering him now because he shows up.
That's true.
But before we move on to one of your guys' things, I just wanted to say it's funny when I look at this list. Personally, I don't think Asuka beats it. I think it ends with Ultimate Warrior. I don't think anybody ever actually beats that percentage. NXT has done a lot for people's winning percentage by just looking at this list.
Oh, yeah.
You got Lars Sullivan, Aleister Black, you have Mojo Rawley, you have
Willie.
Bailey, No Way Jose. They're all on this.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So, okay.
Michael P.S. Haynes is up there, too.
NXT did a lot for his, too.
Yeah.
Okay, move along.
Peach, I'll let you bring yours up.
Youngest WWE champion. Who is it?
Nicholas. 10 years old. Actual world champion, or...
Do you actually know this answer, or do you just
I do.
Hold on. World champion or WWE champion? Any of the belts.
Any
WWE.
belt?
Oh, it's Orton.
Orton.
Yeah, it's Orton.
At how old?
22?
23?
24.
Ah.
Before that, before Nicholas, it was Rene Dupree at 19, I believe, is when he won the tag team title as part of La Resistance. I just want to point out, Peachy did not tell us about this one beforehand. I just shown off the skills a little bit.
Youngest women's?
Youngest women's?
I would guess Paige.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, because she won it at 22, right?
21.
21.
Yeah.
But, like, do you want to see that broken? Who do you want to see it broken by?
Do I want to see it broken? Yes. Will I see it broken? No. And I'll give you one huge reason why.
NXT?
Well, I'll give you 3 letters why. NXT.
Yeah.
NXT's there now. I think if a guy's that young, he'll dominate NXT long enough before he gets up there. I know Paige kind of got brought up, but when she got brought up, the women's division really wasn't much. And now it is. I don't think they need to force feed somebody like that up onto the main roster right now. And plus, it's going to be hard to find somebody at 20 to win the women's title.
The Velveteen Dream's 22, and he, I think, has a shot of winning the IC title before he's 24. But I don't see.
But he's talking about a main title, and that's the toughest thing about it.
Yeah,
like you just don't need to force feed those guys. And Velveteen might not ever see an NXT main title.
Yeah.
By the time he's called up, so
and like Orton on his side, he had his lineage. Cowboy Bob Orton, he was part of Evolution, so he had all that whole gimmick, and it worked. Because I think even before that, it was Lesnar was the youngest champion, and then maybe The Rock was after Lesnar for the world titles. But yeah, I don't. With the way they're built up now, I don't see anybody younger than 24 getting the world title.
So you think that that's going to stick with Orton?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't.
The only way I see it getting erased is if Orton does something that they need to erase it.
Like Benoit style.
Exactly. Like, and I don't see that happening. So yeah, that I don't think that gets broken.
You don't think it, like, even somebody with lineage, with
anybody with lineage is not born yet or not old enough to wrestle. I'm trying to think who has kids that are going to be going into, like, everyone makes the joke, Miz and Maurice's kid versus Daniel Bryan's kid for, like, the women's title at WrestleMania 50. I don't think you have anybody around right now that is going to break into the industry.
Yeah, I think you almost need some amateur wrestler to make a huge name for themselves. Like, in today's day and age, it's tough, but some amateur wrestler to almost be a huge name coming out of college, and for them to want to put the title on him right away, to almost kind of to use his celebrity very quickly. But I mean, is that really going to happen? I doubt it.
And like you said with NXT. NXT is a issue with that because any of those guys are going to get trained down in NXT unless you have.
But you could still get an NXT at 18.
Yeah, but
you would almost need a Ronda Rousey style celebrity from UFC, from somebody who's very young, and even then, they're not getting up to that celebrity until they're at least 5-6 matches in, which in UFC is 3 years. So now suddenly they're 21 already. By the time their career fizzles, and now they're jumping in WWE. Yeah, it's going to be tough, even with somebody with lineage. I think if they had NXT back then, Orton would have been the NXT champion at 23 and not the WWE champion at 23. Yeah. Had NXT been around then.
I agree with that. Yeah, there's nothing. That one's not getting touched.
Yeah. There's way too many things. NXT would have to basically go away, and still you would need either lineage or some celebrity coming in, like a celebrity fighter coming in.
Yeah.
A Disney star.
Yes.
Do you think someone's going to beat a Peach?
Yeah, I do.
Who?
Just because I don't know who, if there is anyone out yet, but I don't see Orton keeping it.
Coming with the hard-hitting facts.
Do you mean just one day, like in the next 100 years, this record will be broken?
I named, I think, 3 of the youngest champions off the top of my head. PG said, "Yeah, I think it's going to be broken," but I don't know.
I don't know by who, but I can't
not
see
like Tyler
Orton
Bate or
holding this
Velveteen
record.
Dream.
Tyler Bate?
Tyler Bate or Velveteen Dream are both under
24, yes.
Did you just search every wrestler on the roster on any single show and see who was younger?
He did the sort column by age.
He shopped at Neshaminy.
Yeah, they shop at Neshaminy. No, because that's like Tyler Bate. I'll debate real fast this one with you. He doesn't have the build of a world champion per se that they're going to use in this age, and he's not a straight WWE guy. Hell, he barely gets time on NXT, and he's a former UK champion of the WWE, the initial one. And he barely gets time on the NXT show. So yeah, like for him to get called up, and especially with the current title holders, things like that, like the only thing I'll say if it does get possibly broken is by a Money in the Bank contract. Like, that's the only way is I see something like that happening.
And actually, if there was a guy out there that I would say had a realistic shot, but he only has until November, and he's probably already past it, is Pete Dunne.
Yeah.
I think he has that gimmick where he can literally jump in there and, like you said, win a Money in the Bank or win some type of open challenge or something like that because of his gimmick and everything. But he's actually, you know what? He's 24 now. So yeah. I mean, he's probably already past.
I don't know the days that I forget.
November 9th, 93. So he's probably
Jesus
already past
Christ.
that age anyway. But if there was a guy who's at least going to come close to it, I think he's a young guy that I could realistically see them push to the moon if he makes it to a Raw or SmackDown. I don't think they need to. I think he's good where he's at. But he, because of his style of wrestling, I could see him jump into a main event relatively early. Maybe not staying there, but him being a guy to kind of catch someone off guard and beat the hell out of them and then lose the title rather quickly. But again, he's probably already past that age now. So,
yep. So, I will bring up my quick one just so we don't go on too long. And because Jericho's going to lose the IC belt, I wanted to see what other records Jericho possibly held or something in relation. But I went down the Royal Rumble route, and Chris Jericho currently has the record for most cumulative hours spent in a Royal Rumble match at 4 hours and 59 minutes and 18 seconds. Cumulative over the years. Triple H is in second at 4 hours and 2 seconds. I can hear Mike Googling, so I'm guessing he's going to find some numbers. Okay, good. Do you think that's something that could possibly be broken? Cumulative time spent in Royal Rumble matches.
Yes.
Over 5 hours. All right, who?
You could put, because who do they want to
names, Peach, names. Come on.
They want to
come on,
Braun
Peach.
Strowman, dickhead.
Whoa, come on, man. We did so good not cursing this episode. You think Braun Strowman will
well, that's what I'm just saying. Somebody they want to...
This is a family-friendly show, Peach.
Yeah.
To break the throwouts. They're going to have...
So
I could see them putting Braun in one and leaving him in to win. And that's, an hour, 45 minutes.
Nah, he
can run up to that really quick, and they're going to have him there for the next couple of years.
So, just to give you an idea, like with Strowman, a record he'll probably break is, so right now, total number of eliminations, cumulative in Rumble matches, Kane has it at 44. Active wrestler next is Triple H at 33, Big Show at 31, and then Reigns at 30. Braun Strowman's already at 25.
Right, and he's tied for number of throwdowns.
He has that record at 13.
Oh, he does.
Yeah. He's going to get it.
I thought he was at 12.
Nah, he was at 13. I guess they had it out at the Greatest Royal Rumble. I think the elimination one's going to get broken real easily, just because they're going to have 2 Rumbles a year now if they keep on doing this Greatest Royal Rumble thing, and that's counting official storyline for Royal Rumble matches. Cumulative hours, I see Daniel Bryan possibly being a person that will break that. Because, Peach, just hear the cumulative hours, just to give you an idea, because you said Strowman. Jericho, Triple H, Rey Mysterio, Shawn Michaels, Kane, Randy Orton, and Cody Rhodes have the most time spent at all over 3 hours.
Thank you, Wikipedia.
Yes, that's what I'm looking up. One of those I would count as a big man in Kane. Triple H is your second biggest guy there, and he's at 4 hours, and I think that's probably just because of the amount of Rumbles he's been in, which is, thank you, Wikipedia, at 9. Your smaller guys, your Daniel Bryans, your workhorses, they're going to get long times in the Rumble. Bryan has the record for most time in a single Rumble match at 1 hour 16 in the Greatest Royal Rumble. He's got a couple more of those type of style matches in there to where I see the next 3 Royal Rumbles, he's in each of them for 45 minutes apiece. Does he get close to Jericho? Yes. Do I think he's going to topple him? I don't know, because I think Jericho still has a Royal Rumble or 2 left in him. But that was the one I kind of had. And if we hadn't talked for over an hour already, I was going to fully break it out into like the different Royal Rumble records. But that might be a topic for closer to the actual Royal Rumble.
Yeah, I think so. I'm going to jump on this one now. A couple names, I guess. I'll go from my least likely to most likely. Finn Balor. I see him being a workhorse in the Rumble for the next couple of years, where he's not as much like Daniel Bryan, to the point that Bryan, because of health reasons, it's still scary. You don't know. It's almost like Shawn Michaels with his back. You just don't know. He might, the next concussion, he could be done. So it's hard for me to rely on him to beat any record.
Next concussion, he is definitely done. No way they let him back in the ring.
So Finn Balor's a workhorse. He's that type of guy that you would believe they could possibly have him win any Royal Rumble, and I see him winning none of them. But he's going to have people cheering for him. You want to see him in that Final Four. He's a guy they could put in the beginning of the match to make things interesting. So he's one of them.
He's got great abs.
Exactly. One I don't want to see, but because he has already stayed in the Rumble for almost an hour, I have to mention him, Roman Reigns, because I think he'll always be in that hunt. I think his time of entering early is probably done, and that's the biggest thing. He's that John Cena, Triple H. I know I beat you to it. Well, thanks for the thumbs up. He's in that John Cena, Triple H, Undertaker. You get down to the last 4, and you're like, I'm not shocked. It's these 3 guys, and wait a second, who else is in this match? And then somebody like Dolph Ziggler shows up, and you're like, oh crap, he didn't come in yet, did he? But still, you have Reigns, because of a stupid storyline. He's getting in trouble with the Authority, and they put him in at number 1, and he beats all the odds, and but my actual pick for this, I already picked him for another one with Seth Rollins.
He's in that same boat as
Balor.
He's just.
And I actually see him competing for more titles than Balor.
Yeah.
So that gives him that. He's a workhorse, but I can actually see him winning more. And then here's my dark horse of it, Sasha Banks. As long as the Women's Royal Rumble goes on long enough, for the continued to happen. Did you just mute me, Walt?
No, I didn't.
She went for almost an hour in the women's. It was at 54 minutes.
Yeah.
So she's already at 54 minutes on one. Did Peachy's video just cut out? Was he upset with me?
Yeah.
But I think Peachy's having internet problems.
Well, we'll just keep going and hope for the best.
It's going to sound exactly the same that if Peachy was here.
I can hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry. You want to take your shirt off? You don't want us to see it? But yeah, I just threw Sasha Banks as a dark horse because she fits that mold in the women's.
Oh yeah, on the women's side, yeah.
She has that, the same Seth Rollins, Finn Balor. I can see her starting a match interesting. She can hold her own. She'll be in the final four, final six, just about every time they have a Rumble. So
exactly. Another interesting Royal Rumble fact when I was looking up stuff for this is, can you guess which city has hosted the most Royal Rumbles?
Philadelphia.
You both answered that at the same time.
I'm pretty sure that was an echo from Peachy, but I'll take credit for it. I didn't open my mouth. If I was guess, I'd say Philadelphia because that's something you would ask. Walt.
Technically, yes, because they counted the women's Rumble match in it. We've hosted 3, and San Antonio, Texas has hosted 3 as well.
And do you know one other fact about the Royal Rumble, Walt? In Philadelphia? Do you know one crazy fact?
Chris Benoit.
It has nothing to do with Benoit.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I see you're afraid to answer this.
Yes.
There's one very crazy fact that our fans would love to know. What's that crazy fact about the Philadelphia Royal Rumble?
We've been to them.
Why are you echoing, Peach? I don't know if it's coming up just on Skype or if we're going to hear this on there. Well, how do you not know this answer?
That we booed The Rock out of Philly? I don't know.
PG was right. Me and you have been to every single one of them.
Oh, yeah, we have. We
have been to every one. Peach, you have not.
No. Me and
Walt were there by ourselves. Walton's mom drove us.
She's a lovely lady. That's why I let her move in with me.
The most fantastic, the most celebrated Royal Rumble of all time. The first one in Philadelphia.
Yep. 2 records were broken that night. Benoit entered at number 1-1, and at the time he had the longest time in a Rumble match. They don't really mention number 1, and they switched it to the amount of people entered in the number 1 and number 2 positions have won at the same amount of times as number 30 or something. And then Mysterio had the time in a single Rumble match, and then Daniel Bryan just took that over with the greatest Royal Rumble.
And the most historic thing about that night, the gong went off during the Royal Rumble. That's still the most memorable thing about that night for me. That was the end of the Kid Rock taker. It was
pretty good. But yeah. So we'll wrap this up because we're over an hour so far.
And I have to go to work.
Yeah, nice. I have to go to sleep or play Overwatch. Haven't decided yet. Probably playing Overwatch. But I guess from what we're saying, some records are meant to be broken. Some will not.
That was supposed to be the title, Walt. You just gave it away.
Well, it's at the end of the
movie. Yeah. Now, when people read the description, they're going to think that I did it because you said it, and I had already had it in my head. That's the only reason why I came up with this topic.
Fair enough. But, yeah, so Lesnar's going to beat Punk's reign. I'm upset about it. We're all upset about it, but we'll move on. Hopefully Lesnar does something bad that they have to erase that reign from it, and I'll be happy if they give it to AJ Styles. But we'll see.
That's for the next episode, Beach. That's that face you made right there is for the next episode.
But until next week, I guess we'll figure out what kind of topic we're going to bring up next week.
And maybe next week we can actually mention our pay-per-view standings.
I
was supposed to this week.
Yeah,
and this episode ran a little long.
And I realized it halfway through that we were supposed to bring that off.
Yeah, it was more important for us to complain about the all-in tickets. It's more important for that.
Yeah, it's spoilers. I won. I'm going to be the John Cena of our group.
It is a year-long competition, Walt, all right?
And I can go all year long.
Yeah, I was going to say, I wouldn't be... nobody would be shocked if you blew your load early, Walt.
Yeah, probably. I did it at WrestleMania, but then I got a reprieve at Backlash. So, but yeah, look forward to that next week, people. Thank you for listening. We got another review on iTunes, which is great. Thank you. Please keep leaving all the feedback, comments.
Especially
whatever.
when it's a negative about Walton. I love it. Walton's talking about this. I don't even think he knows what the review said. But, spoiler alert, if you want to read the review, it's a negative on Walton.
Yeah, that's all I need in life. It forces me to drink, which is always a good thing. But until next week, everyone, have a good week. Enjoy wrestling. If you got your all-in ticket, congratulations. Send any extra our way.
Or send your only ticket our way. That'll be just as much appreciated.
Whatever works. But until next week, guys, we will catch you later.
Blah, 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 blah.